Today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant.com. With Restaurant.com, you can save at thousands of restaurants across the country with just a few clicks. Their dining deals range from $5 to $100, never expire, and cost you a fraction of the face value. Dinner has never been easier with Restaurant.com. Used for dine-in, takeout, or delivery. Restaurant.com is offering our listeners 50% off their next purchase by going to www.restaurant.com/podcast. That's www.restaurant.com/podcast for 50% off your next purchase. Restaurant.com, the best deal every meal. You are tuned in to a female-hosted podcast who values you and your time. Each week, I will deliver short and sweet perspectives with no sidekick. So please, sit back, put your feet up, and allow me to bring you Drea's point of view. You are tuned into Drea's point of view. I am your hostess, Drea, and today I'll be posing the question, what's your sexual? On Twitter, I saw a conversation about a woman saying that her marriage broke up because she was a different type of sexual than her husband. And I'm not familiar with all the terms, the orientation terms, so I looked it up and I'm like, wouldn't it have been a little more, I don't know, like important to know before you two get together? And it falls in line with some of the important questions that I feel one needs to know, like full disclosure. If you're talking about being serious with someone, especially sharing your life with someone, I'm not talking about the Netflix and chill categories, but those who really want to be serious with someone. And I don't really think it has to do with age as much as it has to do with what you want in a partner. You know, mainly when guys meet me, one of the first questions they ask is, are you married? 9 times out of 10, I'll tell them I'm not. Depending. And, you know, it depends on if I want to be bothered or not. If I don't want to be bothered, I'll say I am. But most of the time, I'll say that I'm not. And then we'll go from there. But that would be a great opening for me to ask them the same thing. But I don't, for some reason. Wouldn't you like to know if your partner is married? Or your potential partner is married? Or if they want to be married? Or even if they have been? They could be separated. You know, guys are quick to ask if you live alone. Are you asking if I, am married? If I live with a guy? Certain questions are important. You want to know who you're dealing with, what they're into. So, not one of the first questions to ask, of course, but knowing one's sexual orientation, I believe, is crucial. And it's best to ask sooner than later. I researched it and I saw that there are 7 primary types of sexual orientations, although there are more that I found interesting. And this is really just for informational purposes, really to find out what I may be and what I'm definitely interested in, what other people are interested in. Like, when you meet a guy, ladies, and obviously they're interested in you, but wouldn't you care to know if they only like women? Or men, wouldn't you like to know what the women are into? I think that's important. So I'm going to talk about the 7 types, which I found very interesting. The first type of sexual is pansexual. And these people, They experience sexual or emotional attraction regardless of the person's sex or identity. Okay, so they are attracted to any gender or sex, which brings the notion that there could be more than two genders and sexes. They are interested in men, women, transgenders. So they pretty much, I don't want to say they don't care, but they're pretty much open to who they're into. I think that's very important. I'd like to know who my guy is into. It's just like you also may want to ask about their, are you drug and do you do any drugs? Are you drug and disease free? When it gets to that point of you guys being intimate, have you been tested? Do you plan on getting tested? Do you have COVID? A lot of people have certain diseases and they don't disclose that. I just think it'd be less problems down the line if you know what you're getting into. The second type of sexual being is myself. I'm considered monosexual. So, and I'm a heterosexual female, but monosexual falls under the categories of you can either be heterosexual, gay, or lesbian. And that's for those who experience sexual or emotional attraction to those of only one sex. Then you have those who are bisexual, so they are sexually or emotionally attracted to both genders. Then you have the demisexual individuals, and that's for those people who only experience, and this one is interesting. I'm trying to see if I've ever felt this with anyone before. They only experience sexual attraction after building a relationship. So the longer they know them, that's when they find themselves being attracted to them. So over time, it grows. Over time, you're not attracted to them at first, but then over time, it grows. So that could be a possibility. And then the next type, you have asexual individuals. And that's where their orientation, they don't experience sexual attraction to any gender. Some may experience romantic attraction, but it considered a lack of sexual arousal. They may want a close relationship, but not necessarily touch their genitals. So that one is very interesting as well. I'm serious. This stuff is it's very interesting. Whereas you want to know this, you want to know what you're going to be up against. I do anyway. The next one is gray sexual. So these people don't identify as asexual or aromantic. They do experience some sexual attraction, but not at the same level as someone who isn't asexual. And then you've got the sixth type, which is autosexual. These people, this one is very interesting, sexually attracted to themselves. So they have autoerotic tendencies. Masturbation doesn't determine this. And this type is associated with being narcissistic. I don't think I've ever come across those. But there are two others that I found interesting as well. Cupio sexual, C-U-P-I-O sexual. These are people who aren't sexually attracted to anyone, but they still have the desire to have a sexual relationship. This last one I see in a lot of dating profiles, and I didn't really know what it was, so I definitely had to look it up. And then after digging deeper, now I know I need to stay away from them. These type of people are attracted to someone based on their intelligence more so than their gender. And at first I thought it was just, okay, they're attracted to intelligence. And I'm thinking, well, who isn't? I mean, I know I'm attracted to a smart guy, but they are attracted to anyone's intelligence. So that would be an issue for me finding that out. There are many different types of orientation. Knowing the terms is important, knowing what we're dealing with, and learning something about ourselves. That's really the main reason I did this podcast. So hopefully you have learned something about this and take that in consideration the next time you meet someone. And I'm not saying ask that off the bat, but that's kind of, I would think that would be one of the first couple of conversations that you would want to have. You have been tuning in to Drea's Point of View. I can be heard on Podbreed Network, Good Pods, Top Black Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Spreaker, and more. Feel free to leave me a comment on my website, www.dreaspointofview.com, or on social media. I'm on Facebook and IG, Drea's Point of View, as well as Twitter, Drea Point. It's been my pleasure bringing you a part of me, and I hope that you remain to be a listener. Until next time, take care.